Hello guys and welcome back to another CSGO video. Now today I'm going to be talking about how to become an overall better player at CSGO. Now before I begin, I obviously want to point out that I'm not a CSGO pro, god or anything crazy. My average rank is about DMG, LE, LEM, kind of around that range, although at the moment I'm just really scrubby noob rank. So I kind of need to rank up again before people start calling me out for being a noob. But either way, this video is going to focus more towards players who are around the kind of silver elite, kind of silver nova ranks, and for newer players who wish to advance further in the game. Now I understand some people enjoy playing CSGO for fun and they don't really care about the ranks or the skill level, but still this video is going to be going over what you can focus on to help improve if you so wish to. So what's the main thing you should focus on to become a better player early on? Well, if you've really literally just started the game or you're pretty new, the best thing you can honestly do is try and find a gun which you can actually use. Now preferably make it one of the main weapons like the AK or the M4, but if you prefer the SMGs or the shotguns, then as long as you're getting basic experience in terms of kills and learning the maps, then it's not a problem. Obviously though, you want to get better at the main rifles. This is purely because they're the best weapons in the game, and with enough practice it will allow you to take on enemies in most situations, rather than being stuck with a shotgun in an AWP battle or with a lower damage SMG against the main rifle opponents. So how do you improve with a weapon? Now clearly just using the weapon over time will gradually improve your use with it, but the main thing you need to learn is crosshair placement and the spray control of the weapon you're using. Now each gun in the game has a very different spray control and pattern. You can look all these up. I'm not even going to go over them because there's so many and there's so much you need to learn, but basically the main difference between higher ranks and lower rank players at the game is that higher ranks will be able to control the bullets coming from the gun, and then that leads to them landing more shots on the enemy than the lower ranked player, meaning they'll usually get the kill. So learning the spray pattern of the weapon can be exceptionally difficult, especially at the start when you don't really know what to do. Personally, I still don't know the spray control of most of the weapons, but I started out by pretty much just pulling the gun down because most of the sprays usually go upwards. There are some sprays in the game which kind of just have a random pattern around your crosshair, but most of the guns in the game that are automatic at least will spray directly upwards, so the best thing to do is just pull downwards. Even if it's still wildly inaccurate and you don't have it fully mastered at all, this will still give you a huge advantage over tap firing. Now with time I developed my spray and I became a lot more accurate with it, so I advise this is pretty much the same thing you do. Just keep playing with a gun and eventually you kind of just get the knack of where the bullets are going and you learn to control them. Now I've linked a few maps in the description that can help you train the spray of any weapon you choose, so check this out if you want. It's an exceptionally good map and it even shows on the top screen above what the spray of the weapon will be, and you can just kind of follow that along with your tracer and shoot the terrorist target, try and get as many percentage hits in. It really helps, and it really helps show you what the spray of the weapon is. Now for those of you who still want to just stick to tap firing is very good, especially early on. In fact, to be honest, most of the time I just stick to tap firing anyway, because spraying from a long distance or medium to kind of long range can still be wildly inaccurate even if you're really good at spraying. So just sticking to tap firing is fine, but learning how to get a basic spray in, especially with that close to medium range combat, is definitely the best thing you want to focus on. Now moving on to the crosshair placement. Now this comes back to that map knowledge I talked about in the start. Now because knowing where the common spots for an enemy to be holding will allow you to prepare yourself to aim in that direction without even knowing they're there yet. This means you'll have much less time to move your crosshair and you can begin attacking quicker than if you didn't pre-aim that angle. Now the only real way to improve this really is by training on the Prefire maps or just playing the game to discover where the common hold spots are for each map. But in terms of general crosshair placement, you don't want to kind of run around looking at your feet or looking at the skybox. There's nothing interesting above you. Trust me, if there's a guy above you, he's probably doing some crazy boost, which probably shouldn't be in the game. Canals, for example, is a terrible map when it first came out because there was just so many boosts. It was just god awful. They just didn't fix anything for that. They've kind of fixed it a bit now, but still, it's not my favorite map because you kind of have to watch above you. There usually isn't any enemies that kind of, you know, like run across the ground that mouse-sized. So try and keep your crosshair horizontal to the floor at all times, roughly where your chest height would be, so that when you run into a player you can kind of just land and then spray instantly instead of having to look up or look down depending on where your crosshair was originally. Now this is something you kind of want to just have in your head at all times. Obviously if you just started the game you probably won't be thinking all the time to adjust your crosshair placement, but you kind of get the hang of it later on and more as you play. More advanced players will run around the map holding their crosshair roughly at head level and pre-aim different parts at the correct level as well. But this comes purely from experience and knowledge, so for a newer player just be thinking to yourself, keep it at chest height, keep it at head height, and you should be good. The next main section is what to do when you run into an enemy. Now the main thing to remember is that this is not Call of Duty. You know, you have spray patterns for each weapon and you have highly inaccuracy when you're jumping, so if you run into an enemy the best thing to do is not to jump. Because you'll most likely miss every shot and because you'll be fully inaccurate, and it makes it easier for the enemy to kill you as more of your body is within their spray. Well, this is for close combat at least. When it comes to crouching, it's very good early game to crouch spray because it makes you more accurate and hopefully you'll land more shots, but it's not something you want to be doing all the time. When you're far away from an enemy, then crouch spraying is great to do as you'll become more accurate and it means you can land more shots than they do. From a long range, you kind of need the best accuracy you can get. But when you're in close combat, it's really not the best thing to be doing most of the time. You'll just be giving the other player an easier headshot if you're trying to play aggressive, and you don't want to be standing very still. And if there are more than one people or you know another player is coming, you kind of don't want to be crouched because it will slow you down and it will keep you in a very central position, so that even if you do win your own battle, the second player coming will just be able to shoot you because you'll pretty much still be crouched or just finishing your crouch animation, so you'll be very much slowed down. Sometimes, however, it does actually work out because you can kind of crouch underneath a player's aim and prevent a headshot, but most of the time keep the crouching for attacking medium to longer range, because if a player sees you crouch right in front of them, they'll pull down and pretty much the first bullet that will hit you is the headshot. Now the problem for lower ranked players mostly at the moment is smurfs and hackers. They really do just demotivate you from playing and wasting a 40-minute game. Now hopefully Valve will actually try and stop them in the near future, but if you ever find yourself saying something along the lines of, how the hell the fuck did I not hit him? Or, my crosshair was directly on him and I didn't hit him, what is this game, it's so broken? Well, you may think the game is broken, and that's exactly right. This game is terrible and you shouldn't have bought it because you've ended up wanting to kill yourself because someone jumping no-scopes you down mid 3 times in a row. But on a more serious note, a lot of people do falsely complain about hitting people in this game because they were either in a stage of landing from a jump or just finishing off from running or moving, which still has a lot of inaccuracy. Just remember, if you have stopped moving, it does not necessarily mean your gun has become accurate again. Each weapon has a certain amount of time to recover its accuracy after a singular movement. Whether that's a jump or just moving forward or just switching to the weapon itself, if you have done any of this, the gun will definitely go through a phase of how long it takes to become fully accurate. Now for heavy weapons like a Negev or an M249, this takes much longer than a pistol like a P250 or a Tech 9. So the thing you want to be kind of thinking about is if you're literally just finishing off a movement or a jump and you're spraying at a guy and you don't really land many shots, just keep in mind it's probably because you were still inaccurate, and if you start your spray off inaccurate, your next bullets won't be as accurate because usually the first few bullets are the accurate ones, and if you mess them up, well, the rest of the bullets could also lead to inaccuracy, and it kind of just snowballs from there. However, I'm not exactly defending CS too much in this regard because there are many moments in the game where it's pretty much bullshit how some shots can miss. Over time you'll just learn to break your keyboard more efficiently. So to conclude, obviously more experience in gameplay will increase your skill and game sense of each map, but the best ways to improve faster are always to remember about your crosshair placement and accuracy marks. Sometimes having a dynamic crosshair can help you tell when you're inaccurate, as it tells you exactly when each gun is accurate by the increase and decrease of your crosshair. As mentioned before, training maps for crosshair placement of most maps and the aim training maps that I've used in this video and mentioned will be put in the description, so check those out if you want to learn on those maps. But either way guys, I hope you've enjoyed and I'll see you in the next video.